March 10th, 2026. A group of Russian soldiers came under attack from an FPV drone in open terrain near the Donetsk region. One of the soldiers responded by firing his weapon at the drone. But despite all these efforts, he could not escape being targeted. After the attack, the remaining soldiers fled in different directions. FPV drones pursued the remaining soldiers. The location of the Russian soldiers was a complete disadvantage for them because there was nowhere for them to take cover or hide. Look at the helplessness of the soldiers in the face of the drone attack. They are firing, but still cannot bring down the drone. In about an hour, 8 Russian soldiers lost their lives as targets of the drone. A Russian soldier who found a hiding place among the bushes was hit by a drone attack. He was unable to do anything in the face of this unexpected attack. Seeing the drone attack, the soldier began to run quickly. Still, he was not as fast as the drone. He was targeted just as he was about to enter the ruins. Look at the Russian soldier lying motionless on the ground. When he noticed the drone approaching, he lay still and pretended to be dead. Still, this effort was in vain. These attacks were directed solely at Russian soldiers. Ukraine's 414th Magyar Birds and 63rd Armored Infantry Brigade carried out a comprehensive attack in the Zaporizhzhia region, targeting more than 50 Russian soldiers in just a few hours. FPV drones pursued Russian soldiers one after another, attacking each of them. Look closely at the Russian soldiers. With inadequate equipment and worn-out camouflage, they are trying to advance in snowy terrain in winter conditions. They have no chance against the drones. They spot the drone, but they don't have enough time to react. The lack of equipment on Russian soldiers is very clear. In the freezing cold of March 2026, soldiers without adequate winter gear and boots have had their mobility reduced by half. The ineffectiveness of traditional anti-aircraft weapons or rifle fire against such fast and small targets leaves soldiers feeling deeply vulnerable. In an environment where hundreds of videos are shared daily, Russian soldiers are aware that they themselves are targets being watched as they move. Watch this attack carefully. 2 Ukrainian soldiers are preparing in front of a Russian shelter. The Ukrainian soldiers set anti-tank mines to detonate and threw them at the shelter where Russian soldiers were located. The soldiers in the underground shelter did not survive the explosion. A drone loaded with explosives was also sent to the location where another Russian soldier was hiding just a few meters away. The intense attack on Russian positions continues. Russian troops in the Sumy region faced hundreds of drone attacks. Vehicles advancing toward their positions or transporting new soldiers, ammunition, and food to the positions became targets of FPV drones. Pay close attention. Military vehicles left outside the trenches are the easiest targets for drone operators. This is one of the biggest mistakes Russian soldiers have made since the beginning of the war. They leave their vehicles in easily detectable locations without taking any precautions against drones. Without any vehicles available for transportation, Russian soldiers are left completely isolated on the front lines. Russian soldiers who chose the forested areas of the Lyman region thinking they were safe became targets of FPV drones. Once again, the Ukrainian Signum Battalion detected Russian soldiers in the Lyman region and carried out attacks. However, this time, the attacks were carried out at night. Soldiers who couldn't escape the drones, even in daylight, were forced to fight the drones in the dark this time. Look at the attacks. Soldiers can't even see where the drone is coming from. Numerous soldiers lost their lives in the drone attack that lasted for hours. These FPV drone attacks clearly show that drones dominate the front lines. A Russian military vehicle was detected, and the drone operator targeted its fuel tank. The explosion was larger than expected. It was thought to be a simple military vehicle, but the intensity of the explosion revealed it to be a vehicle loaded with ammunition. The FPV drone operator spotted a strange vehicle and immediately went on the offensive. The Russian soldier on the road was moving forward in a vehicle that was traveling quite fast, but not as fast as the drone. As the FPV drone approached the target, the vehicle became clearer. It was a three-wheeled motorcycle. A Ukrainian military FPV drone was searching for Russian soldiers in abandoned areas. After conducting reconnaissance in the vicinity for a while, the drone detected a lone Russian soldier. The drone quickly launched an attack. The Russian soldier noticed the approaching drone at the last moment, but it was already too late. A Russian soldier was spotted wandering alone on the front lines east of the Pokrovsk region. The Russian soldier was tracked by drones for a while. It was unclear exactly where he wanted to go. The soldier, who was followed for several minutes, appeared to be in a state of panic. He eventually entered an area covered in bushes and began to hide. He most likely noticed the drone following him. An FPV drone had already been sent to attack him. When the drone rapidly approached him, he tried to fire his weapon, but was unable to escape. An armored vehicle carrying a Russian assault unit advancing on Ukrainian defensive positions in the Pokrovsk region was quickly detected. More than 20 FPV drones were sent in succession. Russian units faced an unexpected attack by the drones. The T-72 tank in the vanguard was the primary target and was immediately neutralized. Vehicles carrying large numbers of Russian soldiers were hit one after another by the drones. While all these attacks were taking place, Russian soldiers were unable to shoot down any of the drones. This proves that Russian forces still have not found an effective defense against drones. Attacks on Russian logistics vehicles continue. Ukraine 414. Magyar birds carried out attacks on logistics routes used by Russian soldiers on the front lines in the Donetsk region. Russian soldiers advancing toward their positions along hundreds of kilometers of road became targets of FPV drones. This time, Ukrainian artillery is on the offensive. Artillery strikes were carried out on Russian positions in Pokrovsk, located in the Donetsk region. First, reconnaissance drones identified the positions, and the coordinates were relayed to Ukrainian artillery units. The positions were hit one by one with precision strikes. An FPV drone was sent to shoot down a Russian reconnaissance drone. Here, the FPV drone approaches the Russian reconnaissance drone and renders it completely ineffective with a single collision. Ukrainian FP2 kamikaze UAVs struck a storage base, a fuel and oil distribution and refueling point, and the Volna 3 electronic warfare complex. The cities of Makiyivka and Donetsk, located in the Donetsk region, suffered the Russian forces' heaviest losses this week as a result of this attack. These attacks show that the war is not only being fought on the front lines. The war is also spreading to areas such as logistics and supply. Ukrainian forces have forced soldiers on the front lines to fight under increasingly difficult conditions with these attacks. The S-400 air defense system, the most widely used by Russian forces on the front lines, was destroyed by just a few small drones. Deploying such an expensive air defense system without any measures against drones caused significant losses for Russian forces. At the same time, the radar system belonging to the air defense system was also destroyed. Ukrainian drone operators managed to infiltrate the location where Russian soldiers were hiding their vehicles. Fiber optic drones were flown into the hangar-like structure, and the vehicles used by Russian soldiers on the front lines were rendered inoperable with high explosives. The priority in this attack was the vehicles. Without vehicles, the Russian soldiers' mobility on the front lines is already restricted. Did you notice anything about the vehicles? Most of them are ATVs. The Russian army supplied a large number of these vehicles to soldiers on the front lines. This choice, made to enable faster movement on the front lines, actually led to worse results. These vehicles left soldiers completely defenseless and easy targets against drones. As you can see in the attacks, it's not just military vehicles. All vehicles that soldiers could use were also targeted. Ukraine has begun setting up ambushes using FPV drones on roads used by Russian soldiers at the front. The drones waiting in ambush immediately attacked when they detected any movement. Vehicles transporting soldiers to the front were the primary targets. Here are the Russian soldiers caught in an ambush. They are trying to shoot down the drone. Look at the targets of the FPV drones. Hundreds of military vehicles left behind on the front lines. Is this due to the carelessness of Russian soldiers on the front lines? Or are they abandoning them anywhere because they cannot refuel the vehicles? An ATV, or light armored vehicle, that runs out of fuel becomes a death trap in those freezing winter conditions. Russian soldiers see abandoning the vehicle and fleeing on foot to the nearest shelter as a survival strategy, rather than trying to defend the vehicle once it runs out of fuel to avoid becoming a target for drones. As heavy armored vehicles ran out, Russia began deploying civilian cars, motorcycles, and ATVs to the front lines. Since these vehicles lack armor, even a single FPV drone is enough to neutralize the vehicle and its personnel. Russian forces are still in a defensive position. They have halted their advance until the end of winter. Ukraine, however, is still actively continuing its attacks.